I am going to switch screens and bring you up. And so you can see, oops, a couple of the extra slides. And so we put you in presentation mode and we're rocking and rolling. All right. Today's March 24th at noon. Happy spring to everybody. Great graphic. I think Anna found that and I like it. We need it today because the sun is not shining. As usual, we're going to go through our updates and just do a couple of reminders. Of course, we're still in COVID. Wear your mask, 6 feet apart, avoid crowds, wash your hands. And then the next one is get your vaccine. Here in the zip code of 53233, anybody can get their vaccine. So if you don't know where to go, you can call 286-6800 and or go to milwaukee.gov COVID vax. The next slide here does have a little more information, but we really encourage folks to get out, protect the ones you love, and help our community become safe together so we all are together. That's what we're striving for, is to be a community again. The Milwaukee Health Department did just open up the window to a few more people on March 22nd. And I did mention the zip codes, the zip codes on the slide: 204, 205, 206, 209, 215, 216, 218, 223, 224, and 233 are all eligible to go in. So even if you don't have a pre-existing condition, even if you're not 65, even if you don't work in a restaurant and bar, go get that vaccine. It's open to those neighborhoods where there's a high density of folks that really need to get it and need access. So we're encouraging you to get out and get that done. Can you tell I'm kind of passionate about that? So please do get out and get that vaccine, and the resources are there for questions. And I need my next slide. There we go. The mobile market is running around the near west side, we're happy to say. The next, oh, I missed an L in April, sorry. What that is through the Hunger Task Force, and it's a mobile market that is sponsored by Pick and Save. And in that, you can find fruits and veggies, meat, dairy, all sorts of good stuff. And it does accept credit cards. No cash is the biggie. But you can also use your EBT card, which is extremely important. It will be at Washington Park next week, 2 weeks away, I guess, is the next drop in our area. We also are working hard to distribute coupons that Harley Davidson has been very generous in being able to sponsor a coupon for people to use at the market. And then just again, a little bit more, the EBT program has been expanded. So if you are eligible, and Hunger Task Force is so on top of making sure that folks are aware of what resources are available, especially financially related to food. You will be getting more money on your card. That's the other fun part of it. So if you have an EBT card, you will find extra funds on there because that was part of some of the care package that came out for the COVID through the federal government. Again, if you have questions, hungertaskforce.org, and they can help you along. So now we're going to move into the next part of our presentation. We are going to give you an update on our action activities. Anna Wyrick is going to help work us through that, and then you're going to meet our artists, and we'll call it a day. So Anna, I'll let you take it over and just yell at me next slide.
Sounds good. Thank you, Barb. So before we jump into talking about the neighborhood markers, just want to give everybody a little bit of reminder of an overview of the Choice Neighborhood Initiative. So this is a 3.5-year grant term that is ending in May 2022. So we have about a year left on this grant, which originally got back in 2018 through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And the real focus of the Choice Neighborhood Initiative grant is on housing, neighborhood, and people. So housing with a special emphasis on our College Court residents over there at 35th and Highlands. Neighborhood focusing in on commercial corridors as well as safety, and then people looking at the assets that support health, education, and employment. So that's the big overarching themes of the grants. But in addition to the work we've done with strategic planning around those three topics, we also have funding for physical community improvement projects, or what HUD refers to as action activities. And so these are any physical community improvement projects, anything physical that you can kick, projects that help to inspire the neighborhood, community, drive towards additional developments, and also hopefully be a holdover until we're able to put into action our transformation plan. And so with that, the implementation grants, which is the second phase of this overall Choice Neighborhood Initiative program, we submitted our application alongside the city and the Housing Authority and several other partners. We submitted that application back in the beginning of December. And so we're still waiting to hear back on our status on that grant. We do feel very positive about our chances, and that would bring $35 million from HUD into the neighborhood, as well as a lot of other investments to really push forward higher quality housing and neighborhood development for all of our residents. So next slide, please. So the action activities, what we're here to talk about today. So we've really been working on these for just at a year now. Hard to believe that we've done all of this work on these projects during this time of COVID. But last April, we started by asking residents and neighbors for ideas on how we should spend these action activity dollars and how we should be able to really put these projects into place. So we had over 50 project ideas submitted in April, and then we put all of those ideas into a Google form and sent that out for residents to review the project ideas, to see what their other neighbors wanted to see in the neighborhood, and really help us to prioritize which projects rose to the top. There was quite a bit of overlap in some of the projects, so we were able to kind of combine ideas. And that really helped us get down to 8 projects. So back in June, we submitted a draft proposal of these 8 projects to HUD, and they reviewed them and got back to us and gave the green light for 6 of them for us to keep planning these projects and keep pushing them forward. And then for 2 of them, they said, you know, these are great ideas, but this is not something we would like our funding to go towards. So had to put those projects on hold and push forward with the other 6. So then we really spent the next months working with our vendors, working with residents, working with stakeholders, hosting virtual meetings, getting a better sense of our budget, and ideas really kept percolating throughout. And so we submitted our final proposal to HUD for these projects in early December, and sent that off, and then had a little bit of a wait time before we officially heard back. But in mid-February, we did get formal approval by HUD for these 6 projects. So we're very excited that officially funded and ready to go and implement these 6 projects. And those projects do include the neighborhood markers that we'll be talking about today, murals through our Painting the Near West Side program, facade grants through our storefront improvement program, supporting the new state music park at 26th and States, supporting the second phase of development of FATS Triangle, the Triangle Traffic Median over there at 35th and States, and then finally along 27th Street, where we've already implemented alongside the city the bump outs with the plastic bollards and the painting. We're going to be putting planters into those intersections where the painting is already done. So that'll really continue to help slow traffic on 27th. And we'll also be putting some flowers in there to bring some color too. So we're excited about all these projects, but let's go ahead to the next slide. and talk a little bit about the neighborhood markers. So there were several project proposals from residents for increased signage across the Near West Side, and especially increased history of the Near West Side. We know that each of our distinct 7 neighborhoods has its own really rich history based on who has lived there, what businesses have started there, who the neighborhood is today, and the people that make it up today. And so we really want to be able to highlight that history. So we put out a call for signage that could also tell history, tell stories of the neighborhoods. And so we had 3 different artist groups respond to those proposals, to that call, and put forth proposals. And so we then really put that out to residents and said, you know, which designs do you like best? And so House of Rad, Andre and Brandon, who are with us today, they were by far the favorite, the #1 pick of residents that partook in that survey. So we're really excited about their designs. And so in November of last year, Andre and Brandon had originally come up with 6 designs, and those meetings helped narrow it down to 2. And those are the 2 draft designs that you see on the screen today. So then in February, we started hosting individual neighborhood meetings. At that point, we knew or felt very confident about our funding coming through, and so met with residents to see which they liked better, what stories, people, symbols they wanted to see encapsulated into the marker. And so then Andre and Brandon took all of that and then really customized the markers to each of the 7 neighborhoods. And so in March, we met. We've been meeting with all of our neighborhoods again and just wrapped up those meetings. And so today, really excited to go through each of the markers, talk about the different symbols that are showcased in each marker, get a little more feedback. None of these are finalized at this point. And so get a little bit more feedback and then be able to really keep going and push this project forward. And so with that, Barb, if you want to stop sharing, we will turn it over to Andre and Brandon.
Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming to the meeting. We're super excited about this project and how far we've come. Like Anna said, we're going to be looking for more feedback on these, and these are not necessarily finalized yet. We're getting close, but we do want some more neighborhood voice. So I'll go ahead and share my screen so we can take a look at where we're headed. So as you saw previously, these are the 2 base structures that we started with, and then we're embellishing them per each neighborhood and the feedback that we've received thus far. So I'll go through, I guess, each marker, and we can kind of discuss what's going on in each of them. So as we get through and we start looking at pieces we've done, the details of each one of these that we've gone through here. This is Avenues West. You'll see 3 different versions of this. It's going to be the same sculpture, but different title casing. So it'll match the piece better. But you'll see visual elements from the Ambassador Hotel, the Pabst Mansion, and what's that top piece? Help me, Andre.
We had some Marquette influences of the buildings, as well as the hotel. Yeah.
I kind of funny that I'm forgetting Marquette when that's one of the major pieces of that neighborhood. So this is kind of where we are with that. You'll notice some underpinning visual details that will keep all of these designs reminiscent of each other, so that you can tell that the Near West Side partners are all connected. So you'll see a lot of hemispheres and visual details, and also the structures are relatively similar in their base form. So that's your first title case option. Second title case option. And our third, trying to keep the options open with 3 of them. Then we'll move on to Martin Drive. So Martin Drive chose the 4-sided version. So the other version is 3-sided. This 4-sided version has that dome top. In this one, you're going to see inspiration from the Milwaukee Electric Railroad and Light Bulb Company on the bottom, and as well as with the hemispheres. So you kind of see in this area, that's where you're getting that train and trolley feel. Then you've got Harley Davidson with the iconic tombstone tail light. And then we've got up in this little section here, that's for the zoo, the Washington Park bandshell. And then the top is also reminiscent of that. Andre, you got anything to add to that?
Going back into this, all of these structures are made with mild steel that have a primed and painted finish. The painted finish, we will be representing colors down the road that are specific to each one of the signs. A lot of the materials are layered and welded construction so that there's not a lot of grab points or points that someone can torque on them and deface the elements, as well as at the same time when you're looking at these, they are a small drawing, but a lot of the material is 1/2 inch or bigger in thickness so that they really are durable and material that can take some abuse.
Yeah, for sure. That was one of the concerns, or actually a couple concerns raised by each one of the neighborhoods about longevity, sturdiness, things like that. And it's kind of hard to convey in the sketch, like you were saying. I mean, these are going to be around 10 feet tall, if not a little taller. So you're looking at like 10 feet tall by 3 by 3-ish, So yeah, they're going to be robust and heavy. And we'll also, as we're going through the process, be sharing process photos and things like that. And as issues come up or something like that, we may decide to change some thicknesses as we go. But yeah, the sturdiness and longevity of these are not, in our opinion, not going to be a concern. So this is title case option 1, title case option 2, and 3. So a little bit more ornate. And what I tried to do in each one of these markers, in each one of the options, is let the sculpture sort of inspire the embellishments of the typography, but as well as keep them of the same era, and try to maintain that consistency. So we'll move on to Cold Spring Park. Oops, sorry about that. Yep. So we had some interesting controversy about the top hat on top. And we found that Abraham Lincoln did not actually speak in Cold Spring Park. So we may or may not be updating that. We also just think that it's an interesting point, and also just an interesting element. So you'll see on the bottom, we've got the horse racing track, and then on the top, we've got a ribbon for the State Fair inspiration there. So I want to say the first several State Fairs were hosted in Cold Spring Park. And then there was a relatively famous horse racing track going on there as well. Andre, do you want to speak to that ornamentation there?
So the ornamentation that flanks the top and bottom of the racetrack is got an Art Deco, take arts and crafts, metalwork, ornate metalwork pattern. It's very similar to much of the artwork that is in the neighborhood and of the period of a lot of the houses that were built back then. With those patterns, they're going to be geometrically floral, and those floral patterns also represent, the fact of the Cold Spring is really proud of the garden, Cold Spring Garden, and was I wanted to bring that in a period in a stylistic way that made sense and connects to the community of the day. As well as the roof line is very reminiscent of a lot of roof lines in the neighborhood. So we were trying to pull architectural elements that people are surrounded with in the neighborhood that also speak to the history and the culture that has influenced the neighborhood.
Awesome, thanks for that. Then I'll walk through the title cases. So title case option number 1, number 2, number 3, and then historic Concordia. So this one I'm going to let you talk about, Andre.
So with the historic Concordia, we were looking at a lot of the buildings in the neighborhood, and when we were discussing it with the people of the neighborhood, houses really came up as who lived there, the history of the people that lived in there, and they were really proud of the houses. And so we really wanted to give homage to that, and the fact that there's so many beautiful architectural elements. And yes, the houses are just a representation of the people that have lived there, but it also spoke to the craftsmanship and the care of the people that were making the houses in that neighborhood. So we wanted to kind of play off of that, because it was a great opportunity, because a lot of the business owners that have made the companies that have developed Milwaukee as a city lived in this neighborhood. And so we wanted to play to some of those aesthetics on top of, the many other details. So, we were incorporating a lot of the architectural period elements that represent, from the stained glass to the shingles that were on some of these more ornate buildings, to the metal scroll work, and some of the Art Deco are many other time periods of design. One of the questions I see in the chat is that they're asking about the structure and withstanding climbability. The actual structure, as I was saying, is going to be made of all solid steel, solid and tube steel. It'll all be thick wall structural steel. So you can see the legs at the bottom. Those are going to be about 3-inch round stock steel tubes with a thick wall. I mean, we're probably talking 1/4 inch or thicker, which is more industrial than your stop signs and many other structural items. So that being embedded in the ground with a concrete footing is going to be extremely sturdy, as well as the 1/2-inch material and thicker. It's really going to make it so that it's going to be sturdy, that someone, yes, could climb on it, but it isn't going to fault when someone's climbing on it. The other thing is that we try to minimize any high relief that someone can, anything that becomes a ladder per se. So we're trying to minimize it. And it's a little hard to tell with some of the renderings, but a lot of it is a flat surface that's a low relief. Panels and details that have little shadow play and textural play, but it isn't something that you can easily put your foot in necessarily.
Yeah, for sure. And we had spoke to that a little earlier, talking about how these are, a little hard to convey in these sketches. They're 10 feet tall. Like Andre was saying, the legs are going to be very sturdy. The whole thing in general is going to be very sturdy. So we're not worried about longevity or, people climbing on it or whatever. This is going to be a well-built, well-constructed in each neighborhood. Cool. Thanks for addressing the chat, Andre. It's hard for me to see that because I can't, as I'm sharing this, I can't do that. So title case option number 1, we've got option number 2, option number 3, and then moving on to Merrill Park. So I think we'll probably tag team this one, Andre. So in this one, we're inspired by the Milwaukee Railroad Company. So you can kind of see an abstract version of the front of an old train. And then we've got sort of, we've been inspired by like the steam dials and things on the sides. You can kind of see those. And then on the top, we have, that's referenced to one of the churches. And then Andre, you want to jump in?
So we have architectural elements that are representing of the St. Rose Church, which is, which was a big component of, you know, the development of the neighborhood, as well as the numbers. We were playing on the top of on the roof line is, on the old trains, they would have number badges on the front of the trains, and we like that pattern. And so, one of the things we want to play on it was the fact that, the area code's 414, so we'd have 414 on the top, and that's kind of a modern play to that aspect. And steeple top is reminiscent of the old train station that was, where Milwaukee Road, a lot of the trains were coming and going from. On the side posts, we were they almost look like handles. We were playing with the idea of how you would have handles as you board a train, and take some of that ornateness and incorporate it. So that was kind of like the tying element that we had discussed earlier with the spheres throughout all the designs, that kind of tie them all together and make them relate to each other, even though they're going to be in different communities. They all kind of when looking at them, you'll recognize that they are all part of one bigger picture, and that is, the near west side and the community.
Awesome, thanks, Andre. So we'll go through the title cases. You've got option number 1 here, option number 2, option number 3. And then we jump into Miller Valley, and I'll let you speak to this one too as well, Andre.
So in the Miller Valley, we were looking at, obviously Miller Brewery was a huge influence in this community, and it was a huge important element in developing and the people that lived in there. But one of the big things that we realized is that for a long time, that community or that area was a brewery, and it, though, had many other businesses in it, it was hard to kind of find information on them in this day and age with the digital format. But one of the things that we wanted to touch on was, other than just the Miller Brewery, but couldn't leave it out, but on the top of the tower, we have an oak leaf, basically representing many parts of the influence of the oak and nature, and why people settled in Miller Valley and started their businesses there. One of the big things there was, the oak in Old Plank Road was a big influence on the shipping of the beer. The road actually was made of oak planks that were known to be very rough for the horses to go up and down on, coming out of Miller Valley. And with that, though, the oak played into a lot of things with the leather factories and being able to tan hides, as well as barrels and many other things of the construction of the time period. So we felt like the oak leaf was really an important detail. As you can see throughout the structure, we have the M, which is actually from the Tide Houses, which was the community taverns that Miller had put throughout the city to help sell product and kind of for the working class. Were able, places that they were, enjoyed their beverages. You'll also see the US badge on there. One of the big companies that were at the time period in Miller Valley area was, at the time, it was Milwaukee Leather, Milwaukee Saddlery, which at the time had gotten a contract with the US government, and they did numbers of saddles and holsters for the military, and actually with those government contracts helped really grow the company. And it still exists and has employed people for quite some time. I think it started in the 1840s and is still existing and employing Milwaukee workers. So I thought that was a nice nod to the history, as well as, they were using leather products that were being produced here in Milwaukee, which helped support many other employees throughout the city. So yeah, we had architectural elements playing off the Miller buildings with the scroll work and the spheres, some of the patterns that are seen on some of the older buildings.
Nice, thanks, Andre. So you've got title case option number 1, number 2, number 3, and then we've got Pigsville. So we were having some fun with this one. We have our little pig on top, reminiscent of the name of the pig farms that were a big influence in the area. Then we've got the Blue Mound. No, is that Blue Mound or Wisconsin? The Blue Mound Bridge. No, it's Wisconsin.
It's still Wisconsin, I believe.
All right, Wisconsin. Sorry. And then the houses that are under and or near that bridge. We've also got the Native American influence as well. Andre, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, that's a contemporary design of the Thunderbird, which is representative of, which is a strong symbol in different parts of the Potawatomi tribe and other tribes of the area that were occupied the area for quite some time and were known to have lived in the vicinity, as well as used a lot of the river area for food and hunting grounds. So we were given a nod to that. Right above it, we had some decorative details that are reference to some of the architectural spindles and newel posts within the community. And yeah, so there's that.
Yeah, so we've got title case option number 1, and I think I just did 2 for this one. So that's your title case there. We also almost forgot this one little detail here. There's also some controversy about the spelling of Pigsville. So we put 2 G's on one side and 1 G on the other side. It seemed the folks of the neighborhood like that as well. So those are all of our signage pieces, our neighborhood markers. So we're definitely excited to hear your feedback and how we can make these even better. And with that, I'll let Anna take back over.
Yeah, thank you both. It's just awesome to hear y'all talk about each element of the marker and just how much time y'all have really spent getting to know these neighborhoods and really showcasing them. It's just really awesome. So a couple questions. So will there be additional design elements around each marker, like landscaping? And I can take that question. So if we have extra room in our budget, we will hopefully be planting some flowers around the marker. But for now, we really want to focus on the marker and making sure that we have as much allocated towards that as possible so that these can really represent the neighborhoods and be as strong as possible. But yeah, in the future, definitely look into additional landscaping opportunities, maybe through the city's Bloom and Groom, can get some bulbs to plant around the various markers depending on location. So which kind of leads into another question that came up, which was, what was the process to decide where each neighborhood in each neighborhood where the marker will go, which is a great question that we are still in the middle of. So when we first started talking about this project, we did send out a Google form for residents to supply some information about the neighborhood, as well as brainstorm ideas for where the marker could be. So we've collected all of that and also looked at really where there's already signage in place and where there isn't, and have worked with DPW to figure out what our parameters are. So we are looking primarily at public right-of-way areas, just because working with the city to get the permitting is going to be a little bit easier in most of our neighborhoods. However, in Merrill Park, we are likely working with Mesmer St. Rose and are very appreciative of that partnership to potentially put the marker for Merrill Park on the campus there. But for our other neighborhoods that we're having to work with DPW on, you have to have 2 feet of clearance on every side of the marker in order to get a permit to put it up. So that's, these are 3 feet on each side, then you need another 2 feet extending them. So need a decent amount of space. So we are still working with the city on that and working with Diggers Hotline to get all the sites marked up so we can see what's under each potential site and really make sure we're doing our due diligence on the best place. And so in each of the meetings we've had with residents, kind of asked about best location and have also kind of gotten a sense for priority depending on the neighborhood. And so we'll work from there and keep everybody updated on that. These markers on the panels where you can see the writing. There is going to be text, about 50 words, one panel having the First Peoples history, so our Native history of the people that were first in this area in Milwaukee. The second, kind of the founding of that particular neighborhood, who were some of the first people, how did this neighborhood come about? And then the third panel having a little description of what the neighborhood is like today. And so since we're putting text like that on there, that's not something you're going to be able to see just driving by. And so we do want to make these pedestrian friendly. And so making sure that they're in locations people can actually walk to or walk by frequently so that they're actually utilized for their history. And to go off that, something we didn't talk about yet, on the markers, there will be a QR code so that people can go up and scan that with their phone and be taken to either the neighborhood association page or another landing page that has even more information than what we can fit on the marker about that neighborhood. So a lot of our neighborhoods have residents that have done a ton of research into their neighborhood, and we really want to be able to encapsulate all of that, but we can't put all the text on the marker, and so that website landing page will be a great place for residents of the area as well as people just walking by wanting to learn more about the neighborhood. And then another question, will the title cases be the same for all markers, or would they be unique to each marker? Andre and Brandon, what are y'all thinking about for the title cases?
Well, I had initially thought that they would be different, inspired by the design of the signage itself. So those are the 3, that's why there's options for each one of them. In some cases, I did use the same couple of options because the design of the signage warranted that. So yeah, that's
awesome. Okay, great. A comment coming in from Facebook. The designs look great and looking forward to seeing the final product. So excited for some enthusiasm. I think the neighborhoods that we met with the second week, so last week, kind of got the benefits of getting to see some of the other marker designs that had been created. And I think that really helped people get more excited about the project, seeing some of the others and how each of these markers is so unique, but when you put them side by side, you can tell they're a part of the same series, even though they still all look so different. So let's see, any other questions? Those that are attending the webinar, if you want to put up questions or comments, we'd love to hear them.
You quick touch upon the color part and next steps then.
Oh, we can
There it is. So what we're going to do next steps in terms of color is we'll take each one of those designs and we'll do a flat panel. We'll provide what we think is the best color combination, and then we'll provide some other palettes for folks to vote on. That way, you know, everyone has a voice, and we can make it all work that way.
Yeah. So, and really, yeah, our next steps from here, like we kind of led off with, these are not final designs. They're definitely getting closer than we have been, which is really exciting, but still a little bit of work to do. And so we're going to give Brandon and Andre some time. They've been really gracious with their time with us the past few weeks, attending all these meetings. So we're going to give them a few weeks to update the designs based on each of the meetings, and really fine tune those pieces. And then we'll be sending out a Google form individual to each of the 7 neighborhoods. And so in that form, there will be the updated marker design, real nice and large for everybody to take a look at. And so then there'll be a vote on the title case, on that big text of what the neighborhood name looks like. There will also be the color palettes that Brandon just mentioned. So kind of getting some thoughts on the colors, and gathering some more feedback that way. We will also have the short history summaries in that form, so that people can take a look and make edits, and, you know, what are we missing that needs to be highlighted in there, or what's maybe a small detail we thought was important and put in there, and somebody says, no, let's take that out and swap it. So definitely all still up for edits there. And then we will also hopefully have an update on location by then too. So, you know, we have about 3 options right now per neighborhood on location. And so if we find out one is not going to work with DPW, we'll take that off and then have people vote on the other 2, or maybe all 3, and kind of take it from there. So that'll be coming probably second or third week in April, to get out to people. And we'll really just ask all of our residents to share it with your contacts and get it out there so we can get as much feedback as possible on these markers. And then we'll compile all of that for Andre and Brandon and have them kind of finalize the marker, and we'll get going on the final design and let them start working. Andre or Brandon, do y'all want to talk about how you'll kind of be documenting your process once you actually start working on the markers?
Sure. I think we'll be doing a lot of in-house photography and kind of posting that information as we're going, as well as we have some local videographers that will probably be filming throughout the project, to kind of just document, you know, the beginning, or, you know, beginning to end of the whole project, which will be a fun project for everyone to see the process of.
Yeah, I was struggling with my mute button, sorry. So yeah, there'll also be time lapse. So we'll have time lapse sections of things that are going on. So we'll likely have those local folks set up a camera and leave it going for the times that we're working on the piece. So we'll get some pretty interesting stuff going on. Sparks and flame look really good on camera. So it'll be a pretty exciting process to watch.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited to watch it all. So we have not seen any other questions or comments come through. So with that, I'll turn it over to Barb to wrap us up.
Cool beans. Well, thank you, Brandon and Andre. I hope you guys don't lose any beard hair when you're using that torch. So we're looking forward to seeing the progress. I'm going to go back to my screen share and wrap it up with a couple details, and then we will be good to go, my friends. All right. So next week's webinar is Managing Stress During COVID-19. We have a doctoral student from Marquette that will be talking about stress, how it impacts us, and then actually walking through a few steps on how to reduce your stress. So she's going to teach me some new tricks, and hopefully I will be so relaxed by the end of the meeting. I don't know, I'll just be butter and milk. So I'm looking forward to that, and it's definitely a pertinent topic while we are in COVID. Next, oopsie, there we go. I don't know what, extra slide. We always need support. So there's a couple opportunities. You can go directly to our website and donate. And then the Amazon Smile program is another alternative. They donate a little bit of money if you use that. It's a separate app. It's not quite Amazon. So you have to do a little digging, but everything adds up. So we appreciate anything you can do. And questions, feel free to contact us at any time, which the next slide really touches upon. Some of the beautiful artwork from the summer, and we're beginning to see that color again and looking forward to hitting the lake. You can contact me at coordinator2@nearwestsidepartners.org, and we look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great day.